I'm a big fan of Planetree. The Planetree Alliance has taken a lead really globally in trying to promote patient-centered care, putting the patient back in the center of the care matrix, making the patient an active partner in their own care, not just a passive recipient of that care. And part of the Planetree formula is recognizing the patient is not just a collection of parts in a bed. You know, the heart attack in room 212 or the broken leg in the waiting room. But that they all come together. There's an underlying spirituality. And spirituality is an essential part of patient-centered care. I'm Joe Ty, CEO of Values Coach, and your coach for this course on the 12 Core Action Values. And today we're covering spirituality, the fourth cornerstone of Core Action Value number 6, faith. Spirituality recognizes that the things that are most important we often can't see. Now, a lot of left brain, hard-nosed business people will say, well, it has no place in the business world. Let me read to you an excerpt from a book. It's a short quote. Gay Hendricks and Kate Ludeman wrote this book, The Corporate Mystic. And let me just read this to you. From working with 800 executives over the past 25 years, we make a prediction. Successful corporate leaders of the 21st century, that's where we're at now, will be spiritual leaders. They will be comfortable with their own spirituality and will know how to nurture spiritual development in others. The most successful leaders of today have already learned this secret. Those who think spirituality has no place in business are selling themselves and those around them short. And I think that's absolutely true. It is in our interest, in our families, in our personal lives, and where we work, to recognize the power of the spiritual. And here are 3 things that I think can help you do that. One, very difficult to do in the world of today with all the noise and hustle and bustle, is silence and solitude. I spend at least a week or so every year alone in the Grand Canyon. And for me, that is the most spiritually refreshing experience imaginable. But just going out and taking a walk, if you're in an airport, get away from the TV set somewhere. If you have to, put on headphones with white noise or Bach or something. Taking the time for reflection. And you need silence, you need solitude to be able to do that. The second is something that Professor Mihai Csikszentmihalyi writes about, and it's called flow, F-L-O-W. Flow is that experience of being so involved in your work that you completely lose track of everything else. You're not doing it for the money. You're not doing it for recognition. You're doing it just because of the love of doing the work. It's like when you get a great book and you're reading this thing and suddenly you realize it's 3 a.m. and you can't put this book down. That is an incredible reinforcement for spirituality. Matthew Fox writes a lot about spirituality in the workplace. And that's one of the things he says. We've got to love our work. We've got to do our work with great love. Mother Teresa said something to the same effect. And the third thing is prayer. Whatever your religious belief or even non-belief is, prayer can be an incredible source of providing personal direction and spiritual strength and growth. I love the movie Fiddler on the Roof. And I love the way Tevye, this old Russian Jewish peasant, and he's always talking to God. Dear God this, dear God that. He's always talking to God. And Richard Foster, in his book Prayer, says we ought to all be like that, always talking to God. It can be a great way of, whether God talks back to you or not. The comedian Gilda Radner, I believe it was Gilda Radner, who said, how come if we're on our knees with our hands folded talking to God, we call that prayer? If we're on our knees with our hands folded, hearing God talk back to us, we call that schizophrenia. Sometimes, whatever you think it is, if you ask the question, you'll hear the answer. Let me wrap up this module with my 7 favorite words, which some of you have already heard. Never fear. Doesn't mean don't be afraid. It means do what you're afraid to do. Never quit. Doesn't mean don't stop. If something's not working, stop. And expect a miracle. Not a magic trick, not a waving of the wand, a turning of water into wine. The greatest miracle of all is that inner transformation of you becoming the person you're meant to be. That really is the ultimate miracle. Never fear, never quit, expect a miracle. One more thing. Don't give God a deadline. You just keep doing your part and expect that eventually, when the time's right, God will do God's part. Okay, that covers our core action value number 6. The first 6 modules or values that we've just gone through have to do with laying a solid foundation of character strength. With the next 6 values, we're going to start talking about how do you build on that foundation of character strength and take action in the real world. See you then. Going to be quite an adventure.